from Kinbrace. You're now travelling into the flow country. This iconic and open landscape of bog, pools and lochans is unlike almost anything else you'll find in the UK. Since the late 1980s, this great peatland has been protected and habitat restoration works are ongoing. The Forcenard Flows National Nature Reserve lies at the heart of this landscape, and it's owned and managed by the RSPB. You can actually still see the railway station from here. We've walked about half a mile from Forcenard itself and the railway crossing. And I'm standing here with Norrie Russell from the RSPB. This has to be, to my reckoning, the most remote part of Scotland you can actually reach by train. I mean, literally you can step off the train and half a mile later you're in the middle of this.
Well, absolutely. You know, to be able to get right into the heart of such a wild part of Britain is by train is a great thing.
What are we standing amongst? What is this?
The whole thing is almost like a single living entity of peat that's accumulated over the centuries and millennia since the end of the last ice age. About 7,000 years of peat growth, and then on the top of that you've got this living layer that's full of sphagnum mosses that are really the powerhouse of the bogs. That is the plant that really creates most of the peat, keeps it acid, wet, suppresses some of the other plants it doesn't like so much. You've got heather, cotton grass, the pools around us are full of bog bean, a whole range of plants that are highly adapted to this really quite difficult environment where all the nutrients have to come in the rain. There's no soil to grow in, so they've got to be very specialised plants.
If you look at this kind of environment just out the window of the train, it looks a bit dreich, you know, that great Scottish word. You know, it means sort of slightly monotonous and low in colour. But the closer you actually get to this, the more colourful it becomes. The bog bean you mentioned, for example, in season's got pink flower. Obviously the heather is purple, but when you actually start looking at the grasses, there's some scarlet in amongst there, and orange and creams and all sorts of things.
Just now you've got these fantastically rich colours in the grasses, these beautiful russets and chestnut colours in the deer grass, and then you've got scattered through that, you've got these incredibly bright patches of sphagnum moss, bright reds, bright greens, bright ochres. You know, this is a great time of year out in a bog.
Bird life generally. Here, what's the best time of year to come here? What do you see here?
The real, obviously, the reason RSPB are involved here, it is birds that drew us here in the first place, apart, as well as the fantastic habitat. But the key species that really are special here are things like on the lochs you've got black-throated divers, red-throated divers, scoter ducks, which are an incredibly rare breeding species in Britain. Out on the bogs you've got greenshank, which in the springtime just hearing them roller coastering and calling across the skies above us here is a spectacular thing. You've got golden plovers, dunlin, a huge hen harrier population, short-eared owls, golden eagles. You know, it just goes on. They're all special birds.
I've been here during the summer, and it was an absolutely glorious flat calm golden evening. I was watching owls just hawking across this terrain. It's beautiful because they don't make a sound. There was no other sound in the environment.
Absolutely. Just to watch something like a hen harrier just drifting across these bogs is fantastic. You know, the spring is really the time it really comes alive. It's been very busy during the rut with all the roaring deer, etc. The salmon will just be starting to spawn in the river in the next week. So there's always something different going on, but the spring and the birds is definitely the special time up in the flows.